talk about the New York civil fraud trial. Judge Engoron fired off what I would call a terse letter to Trump's team over the question of whether Trump CFO Alan Weisselberg perjured himself. Just a little bit from that letter, quote, "When I sent my straightforward, narrow request for information about possible perjury by Alan Weisselberg, I was not seeking to initiate a wide-ranging debate with counsel. However, your misleading response grossly mischaracterizes the letter that I wrote, and I feel compelled to respond." And he went on to say, quote, "You and your co-counsel have been questioning my impartiality since the early days of this case, presumably because I sometimes rule against your clients." That whole approach, Lisa, it would seem to be getting old. What is going on here?
I think Judge Engoron was frustrated with the lack of candor or the lack of information. I shouldn't say candor because we don't know what the Trump lawyers in this civil case actually learned. However, based on their own due diligence and investigation of the facts, irrespective of what conversations they've had with Alan Weisselberg and his criminal counsel, they likely know whether Alan Weisselberg did, in fact, perjure himself during his testimony. And they are obligated to report whatever they know about that to the extent that there were falsehoods told on the stand to the judge in keeping with their ethical obligations under New York rules governing attorneys. I should note, Alina Habba and Cliff Robert, the attorney to whom that letter was written, are both New York licensed lawyers. So they have that obligation irrespective of where else they may practice. And Engoron is frustrated that neither one of them gave him any information. And on top of that, as Alicia, you noted, they took the opportunity to make some attacks on Engoron, saying that he's perpetually been biased against them, that he doesn't take issue, for example, with the fact that Michael Cohen, who is a witness also for the Attorney General, also perjured himself on the stand. He doesn't seem to be having a problem with that and yet is attacking poor Alan Weisselberg. I want to note for you and our viewers, Alina Habba represents Alan Weisselberg in this case as his civil lawyer, and her letter to Judge Engoron, which he did not directly call out, really begs the question of what she knows. I'm going to read to you from it. "We do not represent him," meaning Mr. Weisselberg, "in connection with any criminal matters. I have not spoken with the New York District Attorney's Office about any of the matters discussed in the New York Times article." That's the article that disclosed that Mr. Weisselberg is allegedly in plea negotiations with that office. She continues, "In an abundance of caution, I have conferred with my ethics counsel, and I have been advised that I am constrained by my professional ethical obligations from providing any further detail." What's not in there, of course, Alicia, is any denial that Alan Weisselberg, in fact, might have perjured himself during his testimony. No matter. Judge Engoron says it's not going to affect the timing of his ruling, but he's putting those folks on notice. If anybody perjured themselves in my courtroom, I want to know about it. And I likely think this is not the end of that inquiry, irrespective of when we get his decision.
So